Joining us here today. So long title talk. I fed this into a few different AI tools and said, "Hey, build me a really nice presentation." Yeah, none of the so they all did the job. They took the task. Um, they all gave me back some very boring presentations as if it was AI for like the content was for other AI tools. So I had to rip it apart. But I've been training the AI over time. What I've learned is it's starting to pick up my personality habits, and I think I'm funny. Um, when the AI is being funny with me, it's kind of a jerk. So I apologize in advance. Um, Evolve digital experience, right? Like we are now Evolve Digital. Last year I presented at Evolve Drupal, and now we're Evolve Digital. Uniform as a vendor, we're part of many different ecosystems. So I started to brainstorm with my team. What is an evolved digital experience? And I thought, okay, it's got to be future proof, right? So plug and play, can get data in and out of many systems. It's got to be lightning fast, it's got to be performant, have a modern design, clean, pleasant, generally leverages something like a design system for consistency, has all the SEO open graph optimization. Do you guys generally agree with this type of assessment? Okay, I see some nodding here. Remember, I've been training the AI. Then I go and ask the AI. I've done this with my team, and the AI very politely told me, no, this is all boring. This is all table stakes. We actually need to think about what's next. And what the AI very casually and funnily reminded me, when we think about evolved digital experiences, they tend to be personalized and personalized at scale. So what I see as an English speaker in Toronto is likely going to be different than what someone who is speaking French and Quebecois French in Montreal or versus Parisian French in Paris. Those are all that's a different context. The content can be localized and translated and be different. Having that omni-channel consistency, whether I'm in a chatbot or in a store on a mobile app, proactive and predictive. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, right? Like and borderline creepy. But I'm going to share a few customer examples of where I don't think it's creepy, but very beneficial. The intelligence, the automated, so knowing what they know about the user and making that journey much more experienced, much more pleasant and experiential, and then adaptive content and design. Things like taking the device, the location, the previous interactions into context. And any disagreements there? Are we okay? Perfect. Um, so we've talked about evolved digital experiences. We're going to get into customer experience AI agent. By the way, this is the exact reverse order of what the AI told me to do in my presentation. It says, oh, establish yourself, establish your company. And I was like, no one really cares. Okay, let's get into some customer stories here. Um, so there's a fair degree of customers, and I want to talk about the customer stories here around insurance, banking, and finance. And in this sector, we've observed some shifts, and the shifts are moving from some of the legacy DXBs. There's a big shift to cloud, moving away from things that are code heavy to things that are less code. And this one that's highlighted in blue is like it just every single day comes up. There's budget constraints, there's licensing fees if depending on the services you have infrastructure costs, so AWS, Pantheon's a sponsor, so let's go pick on Pantheon, right? You have your Pantheon fees. If Acquia was here, I'd pick on them too. So yeah. There are people, right? There are people that maintain those servers, maintain those patches, maintain those upgrades. So there's a pretty big shift or a pretty big intent from CFOs to start to analyze those costs and shift them to things that help the customer and help the business. The whys, and it comes back to those criteria for evolved digital experiences: personalization at scale, omnichannel, proactive, predictive. So here's a cluster of our customers. I'm going to go deep into a few of them in a moment. If I go to travel and hospitality, it's the same thing. The logos have changed, but the trends are similar across industries. We're seeing this across, and so it's kind of an interesting. And I'm going to talk about Hershey Entertainment in a moment here. Telco, media, and technology, same thing, right? And I'll go deep. on TELUS for a few moments. Evelyn is here from TELUS, so I can pick on her. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, why is Bell's logo bigger?
Oh, I will ask the AI to fix that. Thank you. No, that's on me. That's on me. And when we look at retail and manufacturing, same thing, right? There are many different customers across many different industries that are going through these same journeys. We're also starting to see it a lot in higher education and government. Is anyone here from LCI, LaSalle College? No? Okay, I'm going to talk about them in a few moments. They are doing some interesting things. First, I want to talk about Pampers. So, has anyone been to pampers.com? Probably not, right? An interesting thing about Pampers. So Pampers, they have some pretty strong customer cohorts based on intelligence signals, what ads you click, what emails you're opening, what you're viewing on the site, what you're viewing on Facebook. Uh, it goes into this machine learning algorithm and they start to put you into cohorts. So before you even arrive at pampers.com, they know, are you early pregnancy, late pregnancy? Did you just have a newborn? Do you have a baby? Do you have a toddler? And the way they're doing that, and part of that is part of uniform. We are gathering those signals. We are identifying where you're located. So, right down to the postal code or zip code. Part of it is also signals. So based on those views, you're being cohorted into different things. And what ends up happening, and this is a bit dated, they may have changed things, but they have 6 homepages, and each homepage is based on those customer segments. So if you are in that newborn segment, all the banners and all the blocks and all the different items change based on where you are in that customer journey. That's right. So it's very personalized. It's global. It happens at scale, and it's really there to help parents navigate a fun journey. So Pampers is a good example of that evolved digital experience, and you don't even notice it. It's not creepy. It's incredibly subtle. But if you flip around and as your child grows, the content changes. So you're no longer saving on newborn diapers. It'll switch over to swaddlers for toddlers. So they have all these very subtle cues. And once they know that you are confirmed in a cohort, then they know how long it is before you evolve into the next cohort because your newborn becomes a baby, becomes a toddler, right? And so they can have a time duration. And every time you come back to that page every 3 to 6 months, or the ads change in market and how they're targeting you. So they have a lot of sophistication you don't even notice, but evolved digital experience. Next, I want to talk about LCI education. So College LaSalle. It's personalized, but what they're doing really interesting, and again, very subtle, very high quality, is adaptive content and design based on the location. So if you are in Montreal and you have one of these powerful devices in your hands or a powerful computer and you have high speed internet, fast device, reliable internet speeds, you get these very high res images. When you go on the page, it animates. When you hover on things, it expands. There are videos. So it's a very nice, immersive, high converting experience. When you go to Morocco, it still looks great. It meets a design system, but the images are medium resolution. The hovers and animations are all gone, and there are no videos. And this adaptation is happening on the fly based on that edge location that Vercel is telling Uniform, hey, this person is navigating this site from this node in Morocco. That adaptation is happening of both the content. Why? Well, the devices are slower or they're older. The internet connection can be super fast, but it can also not be super fast. So this is very subtle, but again, evolving that digital experience. And this is happening right now. I'm gonna pause. Does anyone, I'm flying through this really quick, but we'll get into some fun things in a moment here. Does this make sense? Everyone's still with me? All right, perfect. Next, I want to talk about ViStar Credit Union. They're based in Florida. This one's a bit deeper here. They're personalizing. They have consistency. The consistency goes from the mobile app, the web, and when you're in branch in a physical banking location, proactive, predictive, and adaptive. So it's very, very simple. You have these different banners, these different promotions, these different things that happen, and they start to play with it. They say, okay, we want to have our visitors if they come onto the site, we want to tailor their experience to the local branch. So if they feel like they're going to a local branch. So they started to go away from these, hey, earn more interest or save this, to learn more about our branch, come into our local branch. And they started personalizing on the default visit based on the location. So you're not even coming to the experience and they know nothing about you. They also at least know your location, and then they can start to use that to improve the personalization, improve your experience. So you can see in June they started with 4%, then July they're 16%, and then by August 2024, 82% of all first-time visitors get a localized, personalized experience. So if you're in Orlando, you're seeing something about Orlando. If you're in Tallahassee and Atlanta, there's a promotion there. If you're in Florida, there's flood insurance. If you're in Savannah, Georgia, there's a reality fair, right? So everything is localized based on where you are to really improve that experience and give value back to the user without knowing anything about the user. Uh, they had hurricanes, and hurricanes, that's a tough time for a lot of those residents. And now they can have updates that are hyper personal and time based on weather events to help people access their money during a time of crisis. And again, flooding in the state of Florida. So they have these different activations that happen all the time based on market, based on intelligence, incredibly subtle, right? If you're an end user, you don't, it's not creepy, you don't know what's happening, but this is pushing the boundaries of that experience. And of course, the business is starting to benefit, right? They're seeing lending conversion rates go up, customer satisfaction scores go up, so they have happy users, and they're winning from a business perspective without being creepy, without pushing too much AI or personalization on anyone. A lot of it is just free admission to different attractions in the market. And this is one of those campaigns that goes not a tremendous amount of effort, not a huge lift on the web or on the digital, but it does make those customers very, very happy. All right, tell us has a completely different story. Thanks, everyone. Sorry in advance. But TELUS has a really strong design system. It works across TELUS, it works across Kudo, works across many different brands. But it's a very sprawling amount of applications, amount of different templates. So there were some challenges of just maintaining consistency across all the different brands. And this is how the duplication happened over time. And I was part of the problem. From 2016 to 2019, this was kind of the mess that I created because I worked at TELUS, and so when I went back to my old boss saying, "Hey, I got something. I think I can fix it," he was, "Well, yeah, you made the mess, so okay." But yeah, there was a tremendous amount of effort, duplication of components and buttons and labels, and it wasn't done by design. It just happened organically over time as more teams took on more projects and more ambition. So this is where something like Uniform and other tools come into play to normalize content and assets, but also design systems. And so you can use that design system to move and share content and reuse things over and over again. So what we start to see is this breakdown of the components, right? So you can have the standard heading, standard text, standard button, standard image, and we call this a pattern. And this pattern can be reused over and over and over again as part of a design system. And then we see it. We see the banner. This is the same banner on Kudo and the same banner on TELUS. Is that
Yeah.
and it's partner portal. That is your
Yeah.
site. All right, that's great. So we're seeing the same components over and over again. Even some of the card views, right? Sometimes with an image, without an image. Sometimes has a button as a CTA. Sometimes just a link as a CTA. So these are the types and the types of wins that organization like TELUS can have, despite its multiple brands, but reusing the same code, different content, different design variables, but it does accelerate and help them have that consistency across experiences. Now, I've been talking about TELUS, but if we can also swap this out, Atlassian had an almost nearly identical challenge to TELUS. Great design system, incredibly tech-forward organization, but scaling in ways that the customer experience was losing consistency. So here's their customer network. So you can kind of see here, you have these card views on one side, but then you have them again on the right side. This is for customers, this is for enterprise, two different sites, two different parts, two different target audiences, same design system, same different content, but same design system, same reuse, just switching around some toggles. So we've talked a lot about the customer experience and design part, but we haven't talked much about the AI part. So before we wrap up, let's get into AI. So I'm not going to get into the developer acceleration parts. That tends to take me down a path of code, and I don't think any of you want to see code on screen. It's not going to end very well. But there are some interesting things around AI agents, using generative AI, and using chatbots. So first off, I'm going to go into the chatbots, right? Customer experience, and most AI utilities tend to be in this chat-like environment. So on the left-hand side, I have something from Hershey Park. On the right-hand side, I just have a generic demo. So let's get out of here and let's go take a look, right? So I have this nice appealing website. I can scroll, I can see my different passes. But when I go in here, it's prompting me, right? The AI is actually prompting me now. And what's happening is we are feeding Google Gemini in this scenario content and design. So we're telling Google Gemini, here's all the content that you need from this experience. And also here are some design tokens. Here are some components that you can use. So if I click on something like, based on my interest, do you have any recommendations for me? It's going to think. I don't know how long it's going to think. Let's the demo guides. I should have preempted this.
Drew, what triggered the pop-up?
I clicked the button. Yeah, I clicked the little chat icon here. So you can see based on my interests, it's check out this Twizzlers Twisted Gravity ride. But you can see these. I have a little bit of a carousel. I have some buttons. It's picking up these components from the design system because I have a definition of the design system and I've told it to Gemini. The fun part about this is sometimes it doesn't look like this, and I'll do the same prompt over and over and over again, and the AI will render it differently. And I don't know what the rules are, but it is rendering it in my design system. I have a more generic demo here where I've already added in some stuff to my shopping cart, and it's again picking up my design system components here. So I can quickly add to cart and I have a nice visual. And so this is where we're starting to see the evolution of just the chat experience, where what's happening inside the chat is a mix of chat and text and design and components. But again, it's reusing what's in the design system. So I don't have to worry that the AI is going to go rogue and create something that's going to look awful because I'm seeding it with some information of what I think looks good. So these are the types of things that we're seeing more and more frequently around that evolved digital experience. Now, the next story here is around a company called TaxFix. So TaxFix, really good conversion rate, but what really I want to highlight here is their A/B test volume went up 500%. And how do you increase A/B test volume 500%? And this is where AI comes in. So again, if going from any incremental increase with human effort can be done, but it's quite difficult. But we have something called Scout, and in Scout, I can ask Scout a bunch of questions. How well is this page converting? Run SEO checks, run Open Graph previews. I can also see the history of things that I've asked in the past. So if I want to inquiry about the conversion of a page, here, let's bump this up and make this larger. It's going to give me my conversation history here. Here are my visits, here's my conversion, and then I can say, okay, give me some ideas. And it will identify ideas. So now I have an agentic AI that I'm asking to improve my customer experience. It's reminding me, okay, maybe swap out some headings. I can say, how is the page performing for SEO? So this type of assistive AI. There's still always a human in the loop, but this type of assistive AI is how you go from having one A/B test to many A/B tests to bump up that conversion. So it scales very, very well. There are other things I can do around like Open Graph previews and seeing all of my Open Graph previews. So here it is on Twitter, right? Discord, LinkedIn. These are all things that are pluggable, right? It's not necessarily if there's something else that comes in, it can be modified and adapted. So leveraging AI is really, really important. I've started to do this where I just ask the agent, how do I optimize this for other LLM agents, agentic, and generative engine optimization? And it starts to give me some really direct feedback on what changes I need to make on the page in this experience. Here, let's shrink this. And again, I can put this right on the side of my page as I'm building my page. So I have my guidance and my expert giving me information as I'm structuring and building and modifying. Yes,
Is Scout a third-party tool?
no, Scout is part of Uniform. Yeah, but it can be a third-party tool. That's just if you don't have a handshake with OpenAI or Google Gemini or something else, we have a fallback. But if you already have something, then we will plug in that API key and be an interface for that.
So which model are you,
Sorry, I'll
Briefly, you mentioned on the Hershey Park example, you're feeding.
Gemini.
What's the mechanism for that? Do you vector database or like how do you? feed-
Nice. It's just a JSON feed. It's just JSON data. Sorry.
just Gemini or you?
No, so it's like Gemini, Claude, OpenAI, Writer, OctoML. There's a bunch. Fuel IX, TELUS has a homegrown model now, so we're gonna start plugging into that. So yeah, we're open as long as there's like API credentials that we can plug into it. It extends. Yeah, what we're providing though is this interface. Okay, are we at time? Near time? Okay. And that's it. Okay. Thank you very much.